Albert Einstein said that creativity is seeing what everyone else sees and thinking what no one else has ever thought. If you and I read the same book, we are looking at the same words, the same chapters, the same popular Kindle highlights. But how do we get to the thinking what no one else has thought moments? I've found that the greatest tool for thinking is writing. And more specifically, writing in your own words. But to be honest with you, sometimes I struggle finding my own words. Maybe you do too. So in this video, I'm going to share 5 tips that I've tried over the years that work for me to help make it easier to write in my own words. And hopefully one of these, at least one, will be helpful for you. Now before we get started today, I do have a free gift for you for watching this video. This is my free guide on how to take book notes and get those insights into your second brain, all without using Readwise. By the end of the guide, you will have a simple system for highlighting books, a mindful approach for adding content to your second brain, a process for creating building blocks of knowledge for the future, and then a simple tip to help make connections inside of your second brain. The link to the free guide is in the description below. Tip number 1, let go of the idea that it needs to be better than the original. The goal here is to write so that you understand. A lot of times for me, at least, I find things will click and I'll truly understand what I'm reading and consuming after I have taken the time to put it in my own words. You see, you have a unique way of thinking and filtering information and expressing that information, almost like its own language, right? Now, when somebody else comes and you are reading their language, their style, their voice, their analogies, their experiences, sometimes it can be hard to grasp. But the moment that you filter the core essence of the idea through your experiences and your ideas and your thoughts, that's when it becomes a little bit more concrete, a little bit more easier to grasp. At least that's what I've found. Tip number 2 is to dump the Lego pieces. Before you can build with Legos, you have to dump the pieces from the bag that it comes in. And I found it to be true with our own words too, right? The words, they're in our minds. The thoughts are in our minds, which is the bag. But we have to dump them out so we can see what exactly do we think about what we just read. So what does this look like? For me, it's writing down everything that I can think of that comes to mind as I am reading the article or maybe rereading the highlights of a book. I'm writing down what comes to mind, and there is no limitations. There is no editing here. This is not about perfect grammar and does the idea actually make sense? Does what I'm writing down make sense? Does the sentence make sense? That's not welcome when in this part of it where I'm dumping the Lego pieces. This is the equivalent of a brain dump, a mind dump, whatever you want to call it, right? The idea is to write without a filter. Just dump the Lego pieces. And I personally like to use bullet points because they're easier to scan and read as I go back through. And then after you've written the things down, all the things that come to mind, at that point you can go back through and begin to review your thoughts and find the patterns of what you're seeing. Maybe there's a combination of 2 of the bullet points that would make it make more sense, and maybe 2 of the bullet points or 3 of the bullet points combined can be the core essence of how you would explain the idea that you're reading about. Tip number 3 is to find the connections. Sometimes for me, I will find my words. I will find the way that I want to explain it after I've connected the thought or the idea to another idea that I'm more familiar with or that I know. And it becomes easier to grasp at that point. To help your brain make connections, You can literally start your sentence with, this reminds me of. That helps me a ton. Like, this reminds me of, and then you have bullet points, and then you just start writing. What does it remind you of? Your brain is actually naturally doing this anyways. So you might as well take advantage of it and start writing it down. And then what you can do is you can find the commonalities of the things that the ideas and the notes that it reminds you of that you've seen before, and then also the differences, and use that as ammunition to figure out what it is, to figure out how you would explain it, to figure out how you would convey the same idea. Tip number 4 is to attach an analogy. Analogies help bring complex ideas and material into something, or down to something that's more digestible and relatable to us. So to help, here's another thing that you can do. You can start the sentence off with, it's like. Analogies start off with, it's like. And the analogy that you come up with will be unique because it's filtered through your experiences and your knowledge. So we all will come up with an it's like statement, right? When we all interact with the same idea, we can all think of, okay, this is like, and then you can fill in the blank. But what's cool is that I would have a different analogy than you, right? Because of your life experiences, because of your knowledge, because of the way that you think and process information versus me. You can use your uniqueness to your advantage and fill out that blank, attach the analogy. An example is actually in this video. Dump the Lego pieces. Tip number 2, dump the Lego pieces. I could have said, just write everything that you can think of. But dump the Lego pieces, in my mind, puts a vivid picture to help me understand what exactly I'm doing, right? I'm not building anything with the words. I'm not arranging. I'm simply just seeing what is inside of my head whenever I interact with the content. And finally, tip number 5 is to follow the word trail. With this method, you're finding words that you don't know or you're not really familiar with, or words that you normally wouldn't use in your vocabulary, or words that are just standing out to you. You're looking at this word and you're like, man, this word for some reason is standing out to me. What you do is you look up the definition and synonyms of that word. And oftentimes I'll plug in the definition of the word into the sentence, and it sparks something new. It's like it opens up this whole new world of seeing the idea and the thought. And I don't know why it does that, but when I plug in maybe a different word, or when I plug in the definition of the word, even though it may be a longer sentence, for me, sometimes it just helps to just, okay, this is what this is saying. And then I can kind of then deconstruct that and figure out, okay, how do I want to say what this is saying? Now that I understand it, how can I say this? This happened with an article that came, or actually it was an email that came in from one of the email subscriptions. For me, it's Rite of Passage, all about writing online. And with this article, or this email, the word articulate really stood out to me. And the way that they presented the case of why you need to be more articulate. And so I started looking up the word articulate. I wanted to see how is that defined? What are the synonyms of articulate? And so I looked up the definition, and the definition of articulate is it means to express an idea or a feeling fluently and coherently. And so I was looking at that definition, and I thought, man, the word fluently is now sticking out to me. Let's go look at that. You see how I'm going in a trail right here. So I look up the word fluently, and it's to express ideas effortlessly, or in a smooth, graceful, and effortless manner. And I remembered at the end of the article that they said that writing is the best way to be more articulate or to become articulate. And so I'm looking at these definitions and I'm following the word trail, and I end up with writing is the best vehicle to become fluent in expressing ideas. And the word choice there, fluent in expressing ideas, is important, or it resonates with me. Because one of my favorite problems is, how can I better express ideas? I want to be able to express and convey what I'm thinking about. And maybe I wouldn't use the word articulate, but all over my second brain, there's the idea of expressing ideas. And I love how it brings in the word fluent there, because it's something that just comes out naturally. It's graceful, it's smooth. And so the word choice is there for me. This is how I would describe in that article, and that the writing is the best vehicle to become fluent in expressing ideas. That became the title of the note for me. And so when I'm searching and I'm looking and I come back to that note and I see that title, it's going to instantly be in my mind, and I'll remember it, and it'll resonate with me. Hey, I hope this was helpful for you in some way, shape, or form. If you want to continue nerding out with me on personal knowledge management, check out this next video.